Man, I love how this thing leans in.
What's going on, guys? Chris from AutoAcademics here, and today we're going to take a ride in something that came out of that truck.
The bike I'll be sharing with you today caught my eye with its retro cafe racer styling and cool paint. It's the BMW R12S, and while it looks like something straight off a 70s racetrack, it's actually a very modern and sophisticated ride. As part of the Heritage collection of bikes, the R12S is only available in one hue, lava orange metallic, and even if the color doesn't lure you in the way that it did me, the rest of the specs might. It all contrasts well with the black tubular space frame and 45mm upside down fork that is adjustable for preload, rebound, and compression. The rear is suspended by a single-sided swing arm with power lever brace, and the spring strut can be adjusted for preload and rebound damping. The 17-inch aluminum spoke alloy wheels are wrapped in 120/70 series Metzeler Sporttech M.S.R.P front and 180/55 series rear ZR rated tires. The brakes are twin 310mm floating discs with 4-piston monoblock Brembo calipers up front and a single 265mm rotor with 2-piston floating caliper in back. BMW's Motorrad Integral ABS Pro system keeps them from locking up. And to keep things in perspective, wet weight is 485 pounds. Power-wise, the R12S uses an 1170cc air and oil-cooled 2-cylinder 4-stroke boxer engine that makes 109 horsepower at 7,000 RPMs and 85 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM. It has a single-disc hydraulically operated dry clutch and a constant mesh 6-speed gearbox with separate transmission housing sends power through a card-in shaft. Traction control is present, and it all sounds sweet as it exits the dual chrome exhaust. Fuel capacity is 4.2 gallons with a 9/10 gallon reserve, and BMW lists terminal speed at 134 miles per hour. If you're of shorter stature like myself, the 31.3-inch seat height might be at your limits, although I didn't find it an issue, and thanks to the relatively high clip-ons and standard controls, the riding position was fairly relaxed for how sporty this bike looks. Also note that this is a single-seat bike, no passengers allowed, but you can add optional side bags. Up front, there's a cockpit fairing with tinted windscreen that hovers over dual round instrument gauges, and LED lighting is all around. Riding modes include rain, road, and dynamic, and this bike also has Shift Assistant Pro, Hill Start Control, Keyless Ride, and Intelligent Emergency Call. Finally, starting M.S.R.P for the 2026 model is $22,140. Alright, that's all I've got spec-wise, so let's head out for the ride.
All right, what's going on, guys? Chris from AutoAcademics here, and we are about to head out on our ride.
Alright, guys.
Oh yeah, this bike is nice, torquey, and powerful. Feels really nice. It is a brisk morning, about 50 degrees. Feels good though. Sun is shining brightly. Barely any clouds in the sky. And it is an absolute perfect day to ride a motorcycle like this. Now this bike, it does have a small windscreen, but that's about it. Oh, it turns in nice. It leans nicely. And I've got to say, it's nice to see that the turn signals have automatic canceling, which not all motorcycles have. So you don't have to worry too much about forgetting to cancel your turn signal. Now this particular bike, it's a nice blend between, I guess, a standard, I mean, it's styled like an old school cafe racer. So you have a bit of a sporty sitting position, but I'd say that the pegs, they might be more standard. I gotta say the standover height is pretty good. My feet were able to touch the ground pretty decently without having to strain too much, not having to worry too much about spreading my legs out too wide because the tank is narrow enough, and the seat height is a decent height for me. In case you're wondering, I'm of average height, which is what I love to say, but those of you who watch the channel know that I'm about 5'8", 5'9", so not that big of a guy. But that being said, this bike is extremely easy to ride. Just hopping on it for the first time, and it's like, wow, it's very well balanced. The gear shifts are nice and positive, nice click. It is a little difficult to find neutral at times, so I do find that I have to pay close attention to that as I am, if I ever need to find neutral. But other than that, the gear selections are nice and crisp. Throttle response is extremely smooth. I've got to say, this is my first time on a BMW motorcycle, so I don't know if all BMWs are like this. If they are, comment down in the comment section and let me know. But I can tell you that this particular bike is nice and smooth. This R12S is really good. Now, all right, I guess as I'm talking about the smoothness, the initial throttle application can be a little jerky if you're ham-fisted, because this is a sporty bike. So you need to be aware of that. But I mean, that's with all sport bikes, not just this one. You can't be ham-fisted because they will want to go when you tell them to go. But again, once you're moving, the throttle is very smooth. As far as the mirrors are concerned, they're small and circular, but actually they're out wide. They're on the ends of the handlebars, so I've got a pretty good view over my shoulders and around my elbows. So that part's nice. And again, this bike leans in very nicely. Now, as far as wind buffeting is concerned, the small windshield does a decent job for my head. Up top, I don't feel, while I do feel the wind a bit on my shoulders, it's not bad. It's not obtrusive at all, but I do feel a lot of wind on my legs. So, that's something to keep in mind, especially if you like to ride on cold mornings. If you don't care for a cold wind, then, well, that's something you'll have to deal with though. But that's literally what this bike is about. Clutch take-up isn't too bad. It's got a decent heft to it. It is a little heavier than some other bikes, even in BMW's lineup that I felt, but it's not too bad. Like, I don't feel like my handles start cramping after a day of city driving. And clutch engagement is pretty good too. It's easy to feel when the clutch engages. And as far as the gauges, they aren't what I would call the clearest to see, but again, this is kind of a nostalgic styled bike. You know, it's all modern with the componentry, but as far as the design, the style, it's nostalgic, it's retro. So you've got the analog gauges, and they have you get a little bit of a glare as you get a little bit of a glare, you know, in certain directions of sunlight. So you need to be aware of that also. Again, leading into this corner feels really good, really natural. I don't feel like I have to fight with the bike. Now we're about to go onto the highway, so we'll see how this feels. I'm gonna tuck in a little bit because the wind buffeting does get a little bit stronger at these higher speeds. We're doing 70 right now in 6th gear. It's a little bit breezy. You can see some of the leaves coming off the trees. We're about 4,000 RPM, but again, the bike is nice and stable, but I do feel the wind pushing on me as I am down here. Even in this slightly tucked position, I still feel the wind pushing on me at these higher speeds. Not bad, just observations, and honestly to be expected for this type of bike. The suspension is honestly more comfortable than I was expecting. A lot of times these sportier bikes, the suspension can be pretty firm, and obviously, you know, it is adjustable suspension for compression and rebound, but it's set up pretty comfortably, so it feels nice as I, you know, these aren't the absolute smoothest of streets. They're not horrible, but you know, it's pretty comfortable. Again, the seating position is nice. The seat is soft, and it contours well enough that my legs can reach the ground very easily. There aren't a ton of vibrations from this motor. At idle, you can feel it. You can feel the burble, which is nice, you know, that adds character to the bike. But when you're cruising, it definitely smooths out so that you don't feel like, you know, you're just being vibrated to death, like your fillings are gonna fall out of your teeth or something like that. I gotta say, I'm digging this orange. You know, it doesn't match very well with my yellow jacket, but I'm digging the orange. It's pretty cool. Looks sporty, definitely looks different than other bikes on the road, and at the end of the day, and probably more importantly, it gives you a little more visibility with the other cars on the road, so that's always a nice thing also. I have to say, if you are either coming out of a sport bike and don't want something so aggressive anymore, or if you're coming from a more standard bike and want something a little more aggressive, but aren't so sure you want a bike that is a full-fledged sport bike, then this is a nice option for you. Now, yes, the design might be a little bit polarizing for some. I like it, but I mean, I like vehicles that are different, that don't look like everybody else's vehicle, so I'm good with that. But you know, if that's not an issue for you, man, I love how this thing leans in. Oh my gosh, it's just so easy to lean this bike over. But you know, again, if you are looking for that type of bike, this might be a nice option for you, because the seating position isn't super aggressive. You are leaned over a little bit, but you're not you know, you're not on your palms, you're not resting on your wrists. I feel no strain on my back. You know, the position is still a little bit upright. It's not straight up, but it's still a little bit upright, so that you are comfortable. And you know, where the pegs are, the clip-ons, they're in a very nice position. Woo! Oh yeah, this thing, she wants to go. But yeah, so again, guys, we're coming up to the dealership. That was my first ride of the BMW R12S. It is a lovely vehicle, and I honestly wouldn't mind riding it again. Oh man, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, as always, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that oh, wait a minute, hit that bell notification. That's what I was trying to say, so you don't miss what we have coming up next. I'm Chris from AutoAcademics. Thanks for watching.